Hello, I'm Bruce Lorincz, and this show is called Bruce on the Loose. I talk to the city government folks, I talk to the school, and I've branched out recently with the Medina County organizations. Today we'll feature the OSU Extension Service and all the activities they do. Aaron Ruggiero is with us, and Ashley Kuharnik. Close enough?
Yep, close enough.
Thank you very much. And, you know, I really got this idea from the Medina Gazette. I read an article Saturday a couple weeks ago, and it had Wadsworth Middle School doing an activity there. And, you know, it was great to see Wadsworth involved in that. And why don't we start with the background of the OSU Extension? How did it get started?
Sure. So OSU Extension is through Ohio State University, so we consider ourselves the outreach arm of the university. So there's an extension office in every county in Ohio. We were founded, I think we did a lot of research to figure this out, but it was, I think we came up with 1918 was when the extension office first started at Medina. And so we have a variety of different program areas that we specialize in. So I do family and consumer science programming. So that involves parenting classes, nutrition, senior aging programs, financial programs, and then Ashley does agriculture and natural resources, which she'll talk more about. We have the 4-H program, which most people are familiar with. So we have our Medina County 4-H program. I think they celebrated 100 years in, we said 2019?
Yep, yeah. So they were formed in 1919.
So. And then we also have a community development educator. So we are out in the community just trying to bring that research-based knowledge from Ohio State out into our communities.
So over 100 years old, and certainly there have been a lot of changes the last several years. Could you amplify some of those changes?
Sure. So, you know, like we said, most people are familiar with 4-H, but of course that program is always growing. Agriculture, there's been a lot that we'll talk about too, about just the changes that we've seen in that field. But personally for our office, we moved offices back in May. So we used to be on the square, which everybody kind of knew us over there, but we moved to 4046 Medina Road. So we're right at the corner of Foot and 18. Our county commissioners were able to fully fund the renovations for us, and we're really excited. We have more space, we have more parking. So just more for us to be able to host programming there. So we're just really trying to get out there. And in recent years, just really trying to get out into all the surrounding communities. So not just Medina, but Wadsworth and just all throughout the whole county.
And how many people would be employed by the OSU Extension?
So for Medina, we have 9 people that are employed there. Throughout the state, gosh, I don't even know.
Well, there's an office in every county, so we have 88 counties. And there, you know, you could have 1, 2, or all 4 program areas with support staff. And then we have a lot of state specialists in the state office in Columbus that we can reach out to. They come up and do special programs for us in the county. So for example, I'm bringing up our small fruit specialist to a blueberry and raspberry program, but he's based in Columbus, but they travel all over to support our county extension. We
think about some of those fruits as not being very evident here in Ohio, but you go to stores and they're there for your choice and selection each and every week, aren't they?
Yeah, and you can grow a lot of them here in Ohio.
And your role, again, you're the expert in agriculture, Ashley?
I wouldn't say I'm the expert in agriculture, but I'm the agriculture and natural resource educator. I specialize in entomology or insects, but between you know, the office, everybody has an extension educator who can reach out to the specialists as well. So if you have a question that I can't answer, we have access to the research and specialists all over the state.
We don't really think too much about insects, but on NPR I have my walk in the morning with my dog, and they said they're insects, you know, trying to ruin some crops just on a regular basis.
Well, I mean, there's insects all over the place that are beneficial or not doing any harm, but about 1 to 2% of insects can be considered true pests that we have to take care of on our crops so we can get a good yield and feed the world.
How do you begin planning, like the Wadsworth event, or middle school or high school? And I guess earlier you worked with elementary, but you've kind of shifted, is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. So Erin, do you want to talk about how we got it started with Wadsworth?
Sure. So yeah, we used to do it, we did 2 years prior with 3rd and 4th grade, and we just kind of got them out there just to get that exposure. We had seen another county that did something similar, but we decided to shift this year to 7th grade because we had seen 4-H has a lot of research on the career development and how that starts in middle school and really getting that exposure to careers. So when we decided, we said, let's kind of see about shifting the focus and see if we can kind of tailor it more to careers in agriculture that people might not be aware of. So we approached a lot of the districts in the county and just said, like, here's what we're thinking. We're trying to plan when would be the best time of year. So after talking to a few districts, when we talked to Wadsworth, they were just the most excited for it. They felt like their students didn't have that. A lot of them, they're like, they've never seen farm animals and like just that exposure to what's out there. So Principal Eric Jackson, he was so passionate about it, and Beth Beal, who we worked with to coordinate, they were like, yes, we want this program for our schools. So then that kind of started us off on the planning process.
Yeah, we assume, Ashley, that we're in an agricultural county, and the Medina County Fair, we did a show on that with Pam Oberholzer, but really a lot of kids don't get out and visit the farms and see exactly what's going on.
Yeah, Medina is unique because it has a lot of agricultural history, but being close to Cleveland and Akron, we're seeing a lot of suburban sprawl. We're seeing a lot more people come to our wonderful county. They want to be kind of, quote, in the country and experience all the great parks and things we have here. And so we see that, in our northern areas, where Brunswick and Medina, municipality in the central area, and then Wadsworth is a heavy city area that, we're not seeing agriculture everywhere, but we have a lot of areas still that are actively producing great crops and commodities here in our county.
So what were some of the careers that the Wadsworth students were exposed to?
Yeah, so we wanted to highlight ways to support agriculture and engage in agriculture that might not be traditionally thought of. So yeah, you can farm, you can grow things in a garden, you can, do the actual job. But we also wanted to talk about all the technological advances and supporting roles that are needed to keep agriculture moving in Ohio. So for example, we brought in an activity about drones and talked about how if you were interested in this, advancing field, you could use that skill, get certified to fly drones, and it can be used for agriculture. We use them to scout fields, to look for problems where maybe we need to do some targeted fertilizer application or to identify if there are some pests that could be a problem. It helps us to use less materials to target our applications and to scout more easily for pests and problems, and we can all do that by air. And so as kids get excited about these toy drones, like, we have huge drones that, some of them are 6 feet wide that you can learn how to fly and use it for the agriculture. We also had a immersive theater experience where it's like a big igloo and it projects a 360 video, and it gave kids the experience of sitting in the cab of a combine in a field or in a plane that was going over a field. And so they got to kind of feel what that might look like instead of, going out onto a farm.
It's not like it used to be where a farmer would have their own combine and do his and put it away. Because, and I saw the other day that in action, we rent those combines and they just go from farm to farm, don't they?
Well, some of this equipment is very expensive, and so sometimes we have people who do it for hire, and so they'll go from field to field to help out their neighbor, help out a friend, because it can be quite an investment to start farming and get all the equipment you would need.
We had Ag Pro there at Ag Day, so talking about the equipment that's used for things like that. We also had from Worcester campus, from OSU, they were talking about plant pathology and doing DNA extraction from strawberries. So the kids actually got to hands-on go and work through that and taking the actual DNA from that, which was really cool. We had Keller Meats, they were talking about animal husbandry. We had a local vet. We had Crop King. Trying to think other farm to table. So we had someone who works at a local grocery store and how that food gets from farm to the grocery store. Just really trying to make those connections for careers that they probably hadn't thought of before.
Yeah, it might have something that gets their imagination, and maybe they follow through a little bit more, or call your office to get more information, and it may lead to a career. And we need people. The bottom line is we need people in those areas, right?
Yep.
Now, the link, I think, to the kids today would be the technology, the drones. We didn't talk about drones even 15 years ago. The animal husbandry and insects and all these other things. That's really very technical.
Yeah. And kids might say, well, I don't want to be a farmer, but if you're interested in mechanics, you could support a farmer by learning how to work with tractors. And they have automated tractors now that can self-drive, but you need to know how to program those. You need to know about the computer programming behind that. So there's a lot of ways they can apply their different interests to the agricultural industries.
Are you trying to get feelers out there to repeat what Wadsworth did with other county schools?
Oh, we're totally open to talking to other schools to see, what kind of interest they have. Right now, this is our first year in using 7th grade, so we're definitely looking forward to repeating it, tuning it up, seeing, what other businesses we can engage, other areas we want to explore, but we'd be open to talking to anybody.
Yeah, we have set the date for with Wadsworth for next year. So we are planning on doing it with Wadsworth. They're very passionate. It went so well. We figure there's no reason not to do it again. So
middle schoolers, hands-on is the way to go. I mean, there are people that are visual learners and kinesthetic learners. Those are the ones that, again, could spark their interest and get involved in this. And it really bodes well for you folks. And how was the move to 7th grade? 7th grade, they're very inquisitive, and they'll tell you what they think.
Yeah, it was interesting in the planning, especially when we approached the people that were going to be volunteering just to help with us or with the stations, and they said, well, the 3rd graders are so cute, and 7th graders, like, are they going to care? And we're like, well, they may not be jumping up and down like a 3rd grader, but these students were very invested in it. They a lot of them, like, handing their phone saying, take a picture of me holding this chicken, or like, taking pictures in the theater because of the hands-on. We wanted to make sure that with our stations that the volunteers were very engaging, because we want this to be something that they want to hear about, not just being talked at them, but try to make it interactive. And that was something we're fortunate that all the people that had the stations, they're passionate about what they do, so they're able to make that exciting for the 7th graders.
Are some of the people on the station volunteers? Do you want to put a plug for maybe people to help you out at the county level?
Yeah, so we the people through the stations are through those local organizations. So and then we also have volunteers that help. They could be chaperones, so go around with the different classrooms, helping us get lunch, because we provided lunch for the students. So helping pass out. We had 350 students getting pizza, so we had a lot of help for that, and just getting the day set up. And we're really thankful to the fairgrounds, because they do donate the space to us to use that. So just kind of making sure that we're setting it up and cleaning up just before they get winterized.
Yeah. So. And so there's lots of ways you can volunteer with OSU Extension. You can volunteer through our 4-H program and helping different youth clubs. You can be a Master Gardener volunteer, or for just these one-off events. If you have an interest and passion for those things, you can reach out to us too.
So it's just not working with students. We were talking before the show about flowers and how you were trying to help a garden club, I think. Was that you, Erin?
So that's so Ashley's Master Gardener program. Yeah, you could speak to that.
Yeah, so through the Agriculture and Natural Resource Program, we also have the Master Gardener volunteers. And so we have a group of home horticulture-minded people who have a passion for learning. And so we give them advanced training in botany and horticulture and insects and growing. And then they give back to the community by answering questions about gardening for the public. So what's wrong with my tree? Why aren't my tomatoes producing? And so those volunteers answer questions on our hotline, so you can call in the office and they can reach back out to you. They do public programming and garden chats and all sorts to help with flowers, plants, trees, you name it.
I know after some of these activities, it's very important to get together afterwards and say what went well, what happened that we didn't anticipate, and what should we just eliminate?
Yeah.
How was that discussion for the Wadsworth students?
So we do a lot of different ways of evaluating. So the first thing we did was people who were hosting a station, we provided evaluations for them and said, please give us your feedback, anything you have to add. And then as an office, we kind of talk about what we felt like, what worked. We just met with Eric Jackson and Beth Beal yesterday over the computer just to talk about like how did they think everything went, because of course we're always open to feedback and changing. We really, other than a few minor things, I mean, it really went really well because of the partnership, because the school was so passionate about it, and we were able to keep that communication going and just really throughout the planning process. And then we're also going to survey the students and the teachers, so we're working on that. We also have a follow-up planned where we're going to go to Wadsworth Middle School and do an assembly with our OSU Extension staff, and from the surveys from the students find out, you know, what did they think, what stations were their favorite, and then what questions they have for us, so just to keep those conversations and the learning going.
So we're still kind of, the jury's still out on what the teachers and the administrators have said, although you probably had some comments from the teachers. And what were some of those remarks?
So the principal, Eric, he was telling us that the teachers loved it, that they were really excited about it. And any way we can get the kids involved in their own learning and getting to be, you know, participatory and hands-on is just going to be loved by all. So we have rave reviews, and I think even people who were a little skeptical were like, hey, these 7th graders were wonderful, well-behaved, excited, enthusiastic, squeals of joy. So all
I believe Eric's was a tremendous success. Was the big quote we'll take.
And some of the students, did you get some comments from the students themselves?
Yeah. So the day of, we of course were trying to like, how did you like it? And a lot of them, they said they really liked it. We had one of our staff members who has chickens as a hobby. She said that so many of the students, like I said, we're asking her to take pictures of her holding the chickens, but I've never gotten to do this, and I want to show this to my mom, and like just to really get that learning, keep it going and that excitement. But yeah, from the little feedback we did have from the students, they really liked it, and the principal shared that there was a lot of buzz when they came back, like chatting a lot about it. So
we'll find out more when we meet with them in the assembly.
Sure. What about Ohio? Ohio, kind of in the heart of the Midwest here. Why is agriculture very important to Ohio?
Well, I think you kind of nailed it there too, is, you know, it's part of the Midwest, the breadbasket. We have a lot of good areas of production, especially in Northwest Ohio. And so it is, you know, a big part of our economy. It is one of the major producers of eggs, for example. You'd be surprised. And so we have a lot of diverse agriculture. We have, you know, big farms. We have small hobby farms. So there's lots of ways, good climate, good soils. So we're able to produce a lot here. And
a lot of people in this country and others depend on what Ohio does. I mean, we sometimes forget that Ohio does export so much of its agricultural production.
Yeah, so for example, there's a soybean farm that produces edamame grade soybean that they use, and they export it to Japan and Asia, where they're going to be having, they make it into tofu, and they also use it for, you know, fresh edamame. And so that's something that people don't necessarily think about. You know, you're like, oh, soy oil, and, you know, it's used for feeding animals and livestock, but it also is a component of some other cultures' main food sources and diets.
I think we're seeing that now with the war in Ukraine. They were the breadbasket of Europe, sending their crops to all sorts of continents, especially Africa, and a lot of that, some of that's got through, but not nearly what it has. So agriculture, we depend on agriculture so much.
It makes it important to know, you know, having that domestic production of, you know, food is important because of things like that.
What about parents, Aaron? What role do parents play in the vocational decisions their children might make?
So parents do play a big part, and one of the things that we always encourage is to look into the resources that are out there. So like use your community resources, OSU Extension, for example, but there's economic development. There's many organizations that are out there that can help assist in picking your career or even just seeing what's out there. Of course, looking into like the Medina County Career Center or 4 Cities Compact, just seeing if college is not the route you want to go, or maybe it is, but this is where you're going to start. But really looking at what your kids are interested in and kind of trying to see, is that something they could build into a career? What do you want to do? Sometimes for parents, you might not even know what's out there. So I know when I was looking at this field, my parents were like, well, I don't really know much about, like, what is OSU Extension? And I was like, well, a professor in college told me about it, and here's what I can do with it. So just being open to having those discussions and really looking into it. But a lot of it is just seeing what those interests are and just getting out there and finding out, well, how can we make that into a career?
I'm sure some of the students' eyes popped open when they saw the drones and the application it has. You know, I know law enforcement have used drones, highway, to make sure that traffic is flowing well. You know, we see it now coming into all sorts of uses, and agriculture is certainly a big one.
Yeah, and that's another point to share. You know, they might come and learn about these technologies and these jobs, and they can be applied elsewhere. So even if they weren't interested in it for that purpose, you know, like you said, it could be used for law enforcement or other purposes. Some of them use them to, you know, they'll fly out over water and deliver a life preserver, for example, if someone is in distress. That's another use for drones. But, you know, for like, had a vet there, and she talked about, you know, it could be a small animal vet for cats and dogs, but hey, did you know you could do it for large animals as well? And so they might have an interest in animals, and there's 2 ways you could use that skill.
We had several students in Wadsworth that, you know, were in special needs programs, and they got jobs with the Akron Zoo. So yeah, you never know what your niche is, and some students got into that area and they really enjoyed it. I'm sorry, Erin, I cut you off.
I was just gonna say, one thing I really liked that Eric Jackson had said at Ag Day, he's like, even if they come here and they're like, hey, I don't want to do that, at least they're learning about it. It's something they can cross off their list. But you know, a lot of times if you just don't have that exposure, you didn't know that that existed. So just knowing the different options that are out there, even so you can check it off your list and move on to see what else is out there.
But their neighbor, or the neighbor they play baseball with or whatever, or their younger sister, they may be interested and may pique their interest and look into that and maybe look forward to going to the Medina County Fair. That was pretty, you know, you talk about collaboration. You know, I got to say that not only you collaborate with the school, but the fairgrounds open up their grounds. I mean, that's collaboration. You know, in great detail, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's one thing that OSU Extension does is we partner with local agencies. That's one of our big things, and we couldn't do a lot of what we do without those partnerships.
Absolutely.
So yeah, the fairgrounds donating the space to us, they were our platinum sponsor to host this, because that's having the fairgrounds alone, just getting the students out there. They might only see the fairgrounds during fair when it's busy and it's different and there's rides. So really seeing like, what do the different barns look like? What is the space actually used for? A lot of times, if those kids are in 4-H, they've probably seen it, but if they weren't, that they may have never been exposed to that. But yeah, this program, I'd say, is one of our biggest collaborations countywide. So.
Also, speaking of collaboration, Suprema Senior Center, just down the aisle there, WIT's Workout. You come here twice a month, right?
Yeah.
Tell us about that program for the seniors here at Wadsworth.
So WIT's Workout is an aging program. It is we can say it's a workout for your brain. So we know that the research has shown that the more active you keep your brain, just like when you keep your body active, the better it's going to be in the long run. So WIT's Workout is to help with memory. It's to help like really keeping those connections in the brain. So we do, there's a theme for each class, and then it's a lot about socializing with other adults as well, and then doing little activities that are challenging. So that could be a crossword puzzle, it could be just a multiple choice question, just different activities just to really keep the brain going. And we really like it, just especially for that socialization too, just to get out and keep those connections. But Suprema Center is one of our really big groups that we coordinate too. I know you do programming.
The Master Gardeners do a monthly garden talk during the summer and the spring, and bring in people to talk about plants and fungus and all sorts.
I've done mindfulness classes with them as well, so kind of looking at a different way to meditate, but really trying to be mindful. We've done some nutrition classes with them too. So.
You also then work with people on the other spectrum, the people that are up in years and looking to go ahead and be sharp and do things. And, you know, memory is something that people do lose, and these activities they may not help tremendously, but if they just help a little bit, that's certainly a step in the right direction. So I guess, Ashley, your day is different things go on. Is that right?
Oh my goodness. The joy of Extension is that no 2 days are like you're going to get anything walking through that door. You can do different programs up and down. It can be very fun to get that variety of things, and we can meet the needs of the community. So if someone comes to us and say, hey, we've identified a need, whether it's, you know, introducing kids who might not maybe more generations away from agriculture to what that looks like, or we want to do aging programs. So for 4-H, we say they say ages and stages. So we do any age, any stage. We're happy to partner with any agency in the community.
So you're hoping to get other schools to also take advantage of this. I would imagine that if they find out what Mr. Jackson says about it, I said you may have them lined up. You may have more than you can chew off, but you know, that's a good problem to have if they're lined up. And Cloverleaf or Highland or other districts want to do it, that's great. But it's just getting them there and coordinating that. Do you think the fairgrounds would be open for other groups to meet there? So,
as you know, we'd have to see, of course, depending on their schedule and before they, they do have to winterize and things. But I'm sure, if we came to them and they had the availability. But other than Ag Day too, we do a lot of in-school programming as well. So it doesn't have to be as big of an endeavor as this. But we have a lot of programs where we go into the elementary schools. I'll do some financial programs. 4-H will bring some art, career-focused programs. I know you've done a lot of gardening in the schools, and so we do a lot of partnerships in school that are outside of Ag Day as well that we're open to.
Not everybody has the availability in their schedule to do a big day away from school and field trips, but we've brought bug zoos in, and we've done gardening and outdoor programs, how to incorporate nature into the classroom.
I'm sure one thing that we are just touching the base on is the environment and how we can better protect the environment. Do you have some programs on the infancy stage there, maybe?
Well, the statewide agriculture program has a priority in water quality right now. So that's part of the H2 Ohio project. That is an initiative of our governor. And so we are making sure that we do trainings about how to reduce runoff of nutrients and keep our waterways protected, prevent algae blooms especially. Here in Medina County, we are the pond capital of Ohio. We have over 8,000 ponds, over a 1/4 acre in size.
Say that again, what?
Pond capital of Ohio. Over 8,000 ponds. And so people have ponds in their backyard. It could be for fire prevention or recreation enjoyment. And so we always get questions about algae and pond weed explosions. And so we talk about nutrients and how that into the water system creates problems like this and how we can solve it.
I say I do this show because I learn things every day, but I've learned quite a bit today, and really I appreciate, Erin, thank you very much for coming out. You've been here in Wadsworth a few times, and we'll certainly have you back. And Ashley, thank you very much for all you do in educating our community. And thanks for viewing Bruce on the Loose. Tomorrow we have the big expo here in Wadsworth. Thank you very much for viewing.
You are watching WCTV, Wadsworth Community Television.